They weren't mixed. They were African, the erased truth about light-skinned slaves in America. Imagine this. A young girl stands barefoot in the sugarcane fields of a South Carolina plantation. Her skin, a warm, sunlit bronze, shimmers beneath the morning haze. Her features, broad nose, full lips, coiled hair, are undeniably African. Yet the overseer doesn't hesitate. He points. That one, bring her to the house. She's not mulatto. She's not the child of a white master. She's Igbo. And her lighter skin alone has sealed her fate. This is the part of slavery history they rarely talk about, and maybe that's because they never wanted you to know. The narrative most Americans are taught divides enslaved people into house slaves and field slaves, with the implication that those in the house were mixed race, products of white masters and black women. But this is a deeply misleading and incomplete picture. The truth is that many enslaved people who were assigned to the house, praised for their appearance, or targeted for abuse, were not mixed at all. They were full-blooded Africans from tribes known for lighter complexions, particularly the Igbo, Fulani, Tutsi, and others from regions in West and Central Africa. These people did not have a white parent. They did not benefit from proximity to whiteness through blood. They were targeted, singled out, and in some cases brutalized because of how their African skin tone reflected European ideals of beauty. The market value of light, auction blocks, and fair skin. At slave auctions in Charleston, Savannah, and New Orleans, skin tone was a marketable trait. Buyers routinely requested yellow girls, bright boys, or mulattoes, terms that implied mixed heritage, but were often assigned based on appearance alone. Traders didn't ask about parentage. They looked at pigmentation. Some of the enslaved, described as bright, had never stepped foot in America before. They were Africans, shipped directly from ports in places like Bonny and Calabar, labeled red or copper-colored in the logs. One trader in Charleston described a fine yellow Igbo wench, no white blood, priced significantly higher than her peers. In Louisiana, colonial records reference red Africans and ruddy Igbos, using color as currency in a slave market that had little concern for tribal accuracy. This wasn't just categorization, it was commodification. Lighter skin, regardless of origin, translated into higher value, greater visibility, and more vulnerability. Tribal diversity, misread then exploited. African ethnic groups are phenotypically diverse. The Igbo, known for their range of complexions, include individuals with honey gold and reddish-brown skin. The Fulani, nomadic people spread across West Africa, have long been noted for their fine features and fairer skin. The Tuareg of Mali and Niger, and even parts of Berber populations in North Africa, have long displayed light brown to amber skin tones. None of these traits implied mixture with white ancestry. These were simply African genes, shaped by centuries of climate, migration, and adaptation. But European slavers didn't care about nuance. To them, lighter meant better, and better meant exploitation. White plantation owners often assigned lighter-skinned Africans, whether mixed or not, to the house. There they were taught to serve, to entertain, to nurse, and to endure. Some were forced into sexual relationships, not because of any personal connection, but because their skin was seen as more desirable. They were objectified, not empowered. And many bore the first mixed-race children not by choice, but through calculated abuse. It's a horrific irony that some of these African women, chosen for their lighter skin, later saw their own children, products of rape, replace them in the household hierarchy. The birthplace of colorism. Colorism didn't start among black people. It was introduced, enforced, and institutionalized by white supremacy. On plantations, enslaved people noticed the patterns. Lighter skin meant different treatment. Over time, these patterns became deeply ingrained, sowing divisions among the enslaved and creating hierarchies that outlasted emancipation. The house slave-field slave dichotomy became a crude shorthand for favor or shame. But it wasn't just about white blood. It was about skin tone. White society imposed the rules, but the trauma stuck within the community. The ripple effects of these choices, who was praised, who was punished, who was chosen, echo in Black communities to this day. This is where colorism took root. Not just because some were mixed, but because white men used skin color, any shade closer to theirs, as a tool to control, divide, and dominate. Modern assumptions, historical lies. Today, when people see someone like actor Rotimi, Nigerian-American, Yoruba heritage, fair-skinned, the assumption is often that he must be biracial. But that's not true. Many Yoruba, like the Igbo and Fulani, come in a range of tones. He is simply African. That assumption, that light skin equals mixed ancestry, is a form of historical erasure. It flattens the African identity into a false binary. Dark are pure black, light mixed. That narrative erases entire tribes, entire histories, and the full complexity of the African diaspora. There were Africans on the plantation who were called yellow, red, and bright, who had no white blood. Their skin became a curse and a cage, fetishized by white men, resented by other enslaved people, and forgotten by history. What was lost and what must be reclaimed. Why was this truth buried? Because it disrupts the mythology of racial purity. Because it forces America to confront how deeply its system of slavery was based not only on ancestry, but on aesthetic. It forces us to see that the plantation was a laboratory for controlling beauty, identity, and belonging through skin tone. Today, many descendants of enslaved Africans wonder why their family looks the way it does, why some are light, others dark, and no one can trace a white ancestor. The answer may lie in tribes like the Igbo, in records mislabeled or destroyed, in a system that saw skin as currency and erased its origins. They weren't passing, they weren't privileged, they were African, and they were enslaved. Scope News sources. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Special thanks to archival slave ship records from the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, historical writings from Olaudah Equiano and Igbo freedmen, colonial slave auction ledgers in Charleston and New Orleans, and research from the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. Ethnographic records from 18th century missionaries and anthropologists like Gustav Nachtigall and Charles Norris Newell also confirmed the diversity of skin tone within West African tribes, particularly the Igbo and Fulani. Legal disclaimer. This report is presented for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Viewer discretion is advised. While every effort has been made to reflect historical accuracy, some images, descriptions, or names may be reconstructed based on archival records, academic studies, and survivor testimony. Scope News aims to honor the untold stories and challenge erasure in history. No AI-generated material is used in the sourcing or storytelling. Some individuals named may have passed on. We respectfully honor their legacy,